Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Light Reading. As always, I'm your host, Light. The first manhwa we'll be going over today is The Return of the Blossoming Blade, a Muram manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 123 on. Return of the Blossoming Blade's main character is Myung, a somewhat rowdy but powerful martial artist from the Great Manhwa sect. When he perishes after a duel with the greatest threat to the Muram, he wakes up 100 years into the future instead. Somewhat dazed, he realizes that the Mount Hua sect is not so great anymore. If anything, it's actually on quite a decline. And so, from now on, he tries to solve the mystery of how he ended up in the future while also trying to revitalize and make the Mount Hua sect rise again. The story is an 8 out of 10. It's more of a slow burn type of manhwa and focuses a lot on the main character, Myung. However, this doesn't detract from the story but makes it a lot more personal in my opinion. Myung's growth not as a martial artist but instead as a human and a character is a treat in my opinion. The characters are 7 out of 10. While the focus is mostly on Myung, there are some moments in which the other characters do get some highlight, but in my opinion it's not enough just yet. I do see it improving and I hope it continues in that direction, and I'm personally curious to see all of the backstories and histories of the other characters as well. The art though is a 10 out of 10. It's what got me into reading Return of the Blossoming Blade in the first place, and it truly does have some of the nicest action scenes for a Muram setting that I've had the pleasure of reading so far. In addition, the way that the artist portrays Myung and the companions between their serious action portions and their comedic moments makes those moments either hit harder or just be funnier. So if you're a fan of the Muram setting with a great art and with a theme of the declining sect that centers itself around a person from the past, then Return of the Blossoming Blade is one for you. Honestly, I myself can't wait to read more of it. This next manhwa is one of the few that piqued my interest in the villainous genre, and that is Villains Are Destined to Die, an ongoing reincarnation into a game story which I've read up to chapter 123 on. Its main character is Penelope Eckhart, an adopted daughter of a duke household. However, this Penelope is a reincarnated individual who's played the dating simulation game that she reincarnates into. With one slight caveat, she's actually never cleared the hard mode of that game, which is the actual scenario where Penelope is the main character. So this reincarnated Penelope now has to navigate herself around her family, her household, and her acquaintances as she tries to ensure her survival and maybe return back to her world, because if the title didn't make it any clearer, Penelope is meant to die. The story is a 10 out of 10. This is one of the few manhwas that every now and then I just get the urge to reread it from the beginning even though it's still ongoing because I just enjoy the progression and the pacing of the story so much. It truly captivated me when I first started reading it, and I couldn't wait to get the next chapter up every single time. The characters are a 9 out of 10. The setting being a dating game would make you think that the characters would actually be quite limited. However, I was pleasantly surprised at the possibilities that Villains Are Destined to Die put forward while keeping the world as a whole still inhabiting that original game idea. The art is a 9 out of 10 also. The cover art is actually the first thing that caught my eye with Villains Are Destined to Die, as it presented an interesting first impression. From there, its contrast between its brighter and darker colors really sets the moods for the scenes in my opinion. Villains Are Destined to Die is a personal favorite of mine. It was one of the first villainous genre manhwa that I've actually had the pleasure to read. So if you're a fan of the villainous genre with a strong yet somewhat frail protagonist, pick it up and start reading it. It's a must try. In addition, if you're curious about the villainous genre and want to give something like it a try, Villains Are Destined to Die is a good place for you to start. The next manhwa is part of the game genre, and it's called The Slumbering Ranker, a manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 112 on. The Slumbering Ranker's main character is Lee Hyun-sung, a hardworking man that is trying to take care of both himself and his sister due to an unfortunate accident that befell their family. As part of his sister's treatment, Hyunsung actually ended up getting 2 VR capsules so that 1, his sister could play the VR game known as Idea for her treatment, and 2, so that he could actually use it to sleep as he was being overworked at the time. The reason why this works for him is because 1 hour in real life is 5 hours in this VR game Idea, allowing him to actually rest while trying to work full-time at his job. This ends up actually assisting him because it actually unlocks an interesting class based off sleep, which starts his whole entire journey. The story is a 6 out of 10. I would say a majority of the initial chapters are there to set a foundation and an understanding of the world so that Hyunsung's power gain actually makes sense. The characters are an 8 out of 10 though. The NPCs of the world that Hyunsung interacts with are some of the most well-liked and most hated characters in this manhwa, at least for my personal opinion. While it hasn't culminated in a climax point just yet, I do look forward to the next steps. The art is a 7 out of 10. As I said for the characters, the design and portrayal of the NPCs really fit their theme and background and made me appreciate what their role was supposed to be in this story. In the future, I'm looking forward to how some of the other main player characters, not necessarily associated with Hyunsung, will be shown. So if you're a fan of the game genre, with a theme of sleep-based powers instead of the typical style of main character power, the Slumbering Ranker would be one for you to look at. Our next manhwa to go over is Superstar from Age 0, an acting manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 30 on. Its main character is Lee So-jun, an interesting individual for a main character. So-jun has actually lived many lives before he is actually reincarnated as So-jun. However, the interesting part is that he has actually not always been human in his reincarnations, and not always in Earth either. So to ensure his sanity with the amount of lives that he's lived so far, he actually locks all of his previous lives' memories up in his life palace, for lack of a better term. Reviewing the memories though, he notices that one of the regrets from his previous lives was not actually being able to act or be a big time actor, and so he resolves himself in this life as So-jun to do so. From his multiple lives, in addition, he uses their experiences to help achieve this new dream. The potential is an 8 out of 10. The concept of the main character not just living one life before or having to relive the same life, but instead making it so that there's almost an infinite amount of experience that the main character has already gone through is unique in my opinion. From the 30 chapters I've read so far, it's already showcased how versatile some of these past experiences can be, almost to a quite amusing degree already. The art is a 7 out of 10. While it may not necessarily be the prettiest or most complex drawings, it does fit the theme and portrays So-jun well. Honestly, it grew on me after the first couple of chapters. If you're a fan of the acting genre, but with a twist of the main character having a lot of previous reincarnations, this one would be a good one to keep an eye on. In addition, I'll keep you updated on this in future videos. The last manhwa that I would like to go over is The Reborn Young Lord is an Assassin, a regression story that I've currently read up to chapter 22 on. Its main character is Sian Verte, a son of the noble Verte household. However, he wasn't the first son, but was instead trained to be the shadow that supported the first son. This proved to be his downfall, however, as after he grew up and did all of the dirty work of the family and his first brother, he was betrayed and ended up being killed by him instead. Somehow, though, he regressed back to his childhood after his death. Knowing his family and his eventual fate if he were to take the same steps, he now takes different steps to grow more powerful and to ensure his survival. Its potential is a 7 out of 10. It's only just begun in introducing its characters and providing some of the initial foresights from his first life, so Sian actually hasn't had that much divergence from his first life just yet. However, what he's already done is already quite interesting, so I'm curious to see where it might go. The art is a 7 out of 10. It's actually quite amusing how both the action scenes and the humor drawings work together so well to allow a situation to be either having a lot more tension in it or actually easing up all of the tension that was actually just put on there by the previous action scene. It actually works quite well. I'm hopeful to see how things in Xian's second life will differ overall compared to his first life. But if you're a fan of the regression genre with a theme of action comprised of more assassination techniques and don't mind that it's still developing, keep an eye on the Reborn Young Lord is an assassin. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Write in the comment section down below what manga and manhwa you've been reading and I might just take a look. Till next time though, have a good read.